Alright, y'all, here we go. Starting with special right triangle. So technically it says 4.1 over here. This is actually the start of call it 9.1 notes. Do it right here. There we go. So essentially starting off with these special right triangles. So essentially what they are. So like, we've been dealing with right triangles before, like that have, like the 90 degrees angles. But there are two specific types of right triangles that have special properties that we kind of use that we kind of use in a lot of other stuff here. So the first one we're going to deal with is what we call a 45-45-90 triangle. So basically, so what we'll start here is like, so basically a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. It can be formed by cutting a square in half. So basically what you're doing is you're essentially cutting, you take a square, so like let's say we draw a square, and you're going to cut it in half diagonally like that, or you could even do it this way as well. Cutting in half like that creates these 45, 45, 90 degree triangles. So knowing that these also come from squares is going to help us out, is going to come into play here. One thing that we also have here is the two legs. So again, the two legs, these are the sides that are connected to the right angle, not the hypotenuse, but the right angle itself. The two legs are always congruent. So, for instance, if you know that this leg length is 3, this length right here is also going to be 3. All right, that's for every 45, 45, 90 triangle. Okay. And then yet again, measurements for the angles are just going to be 45, 45, and then 90 degrees. So again, pretty self-explanatory. All right. So kind of the basics of the 45, 45, 90 triangle. So essentially, and I don't know if I'll fill this middle part out here, but essentially in a 45, 45, 90 degrees triangle, so I'll call it the hypotenuse. I'll actually fill it out. So a hypotenuse is what we call square root of 2 times as long as each leg. So essentially, and I'm not going to fill the hypotenuse part out here, but essentially, for any hypotenuse in a special right triangle, in a 45, 45, 90 triangle, if say we're given like this leg right here, like say it's 3, again, like taking the example from 3 and 3. If I'm solving for the length of this hypotenuse, all I have to do is take this 3 and multiply it by the square root of 2. And in this instance, you don't have to deal with decimals. All right, you can literally just write it as 3 square root of 2. All right, so you can just leave it like this. All right, you can just leave it like 3 square root of 2 there. So when you're solving for the hypotenuse, again, this is the long side of the triangle. It's the side opposite from the right angle. You're going to take the hypotenuse, you're going to take the leg and multiply it by the square root of 2. All right. And if you're solving for the leg, so basically say if you're given like a hypotenuse, let's just say this one, say if you're given a hypotenuse of 10, you're going to take that hypotenuse 10 and divide it by the square root of 2. Alright, so you take the hypotenuse, divide that by the square root of 2. Okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and find these missing side lengths. So we go to example 1 here. Alright, so we see that this is 45 degrees down here. Again, that instantly tells me that this one up here is also going to be 45 degrees. So we know that we're dealing with a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Okay? So let me look for the legs here. So I got this leg and this leg here. Okay? Well, if this one is equal to 3, this one down here is also equal to 3, because again, these are the two sides that are attached to the right angle. So again, this is attached, this is attached. Now this right angle, now the side across from the right angle, that's the hypotenuse. So again, and I even literally just did it up this one up here, we're going to take 3, multiply it by the square root of 2, and then I'm just left with x is equal to, well, just 3 square root of 2 for that one. Alright? Okay. Now for this one right here, example number 2. We have V and U. Again, V is the side that is attached to this other length, the right angle right here. So that means that these two legs are going to be the same. So V is going to be the same as this one right here, because this is, again, both sides that touch this angle right here. So V is going to be the same as 3 square root of 2. Alright? Now for U, I'm going to take 3 square root of 2 and multiply it by the square root of 2. Now remember, when we're multiplying square roots here, I have to multiply the numbers that are on the inside. This 3 is going to stay on the outside. I'm not going to multiply that at all. It's going to stay. So I'm going to bring the 3 down. I'm going to multiply square root of 2 times square root of 2. That's going to get me the square root of 4. And what is the square root of 4? Well, once again, it's 2. So this turns into 3 times 2, which is 6. Alright, which is the same as 6. Okay? Alrighty. Now, example number 3. This right here, the square root of 10, that is the leg. So I have y, and I got x. Y, which is this right here, it's kind of covered up, so I apologize for that. So y is the same as this other leg, because again, these sides are touching this 90 degrees angle. So y is going to be the same as this, so square root of 10. Alright? Now the x, we take this leg, since this is a leg, I'm going to take square root of 10, multiply it by the square root of 2. Just like I did over here, I'm going to multiply these square roots on the inside, just multiply those two numbers together. So the square root of 10 times the square root of 2 is going to be equal to the square root of 20. Now, we're not done with that, because I need to simplify this as much as possible, kind of as I said up here. Now I want to find a perfect square that goes into 20. So again, perfect squares, I'll list them kind of here. So you got 1, 4, and 9, and 1 doesn't matter. If there's any numbers, are there any numbers here that divide 20? And if we look, 20 divided by 4 equals 5. And remember, this is how we simplify square roots. Square root of 4 times the square root of 5. We split it apart. And the square root of 4 turns into 2, and then the square root of 5 stays the same. So we just keep it as 2 square root of 5. So that's going to be the hypotenuse there. So again, this is the leg, this is this part here, this is the x part right there. Okay? Alrighty. So now we got this right here. So now we're given, so for these ones, we're given this hypotenuse. Alright? So because we have the side across from the right angle, they give us the hypotenuse. Now remember, if I want to solve for the leg, I got to take this hypotenuse and divide it by square root of 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 divided by square root of 2. 2 square root of 2 divided by square root of 2. I'm going to erase this actually real quick. And again, the same. I could also write that as 2 square root of 2 over square root of 2. And if I look here, I'll look at this. Square root of 2 on top, square root of 2 on bottom. Those are going to cancel out. So all you're left with for both y and x, because again, these two are going to be the exact same things. So what you're left with is x equals 2 and y equals 2. Okay? Alright. So now we have this one. It's across from our 90 degree angle, so 12 is the hypotenuse. So again, I have the 12 is my hypotenuse. If I want to solve for the leg, I got to divide by the square root of 2. Alright? If it's a hypotenuse, divide by the square root of 2. So I'm also going to write it as 12 over the square root of 2. Now remember, I cannot be left with a denominator, with a square root in the denominator, so I can't be left with that. So, and the square root of 2 is just going to be a decimal. And again, I'm not working with decimals here. I'm only working with square roots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply on the top and on the bottom by the square root of 2. We do that every time. If we do that, 12 times the square root of 2, we just write out 12 root 2 over square root of 2 times square root of 2. That'll just become 2. And then 12 divided by 2, we do these numbers out front. This stays the same. And 12 divided by 2 becomes 6 with the square root of 2. Technically 6 over 1, but you don't have to write that 1. So that becomes both our x values right there. Okay? Alright. Now we got this one. Now again, this looks a little different because it's a square. Alright. But again, remember, if you're dealing with a square, because again, we also see these right angles all around it, and the 45 degrees right here. If we see the square cut in half like this, we basically have a 45, 45, 90 here, and a 45, 45, 90 here. Okay? So essentially, I'm only dealing with, and since this is 45 right here, this one also is going to be 45. So again, I'm only worried about the top of this triangle. I'm not really even worried about this bottom part here. So again, 8. That's attached to the 90 degrees right here. So that's one of my legs. Alright? Which also means that I, which is also attached to this 90 degrees, is also going to be 8 because these are going to be the same things. To find J, I have one of my legs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the leg by the square root of 2. So again, because again, if I'm trying to find the hypotenuse, take the leg, multiply it by the square root of 2. So I'm going to take 8 and multiply by the square root of 2. And there's really nothing more I can do with that, so that's all I'm left with right there. Just square 8 times the square root of 2. So you got I is equal to 8, and 8j is equal to 8 square root of 2. Alright? Let's do these ones right here. Problem. So this one here. So 45 degrees, 45 degrees, 9, that is across from that. So we have the hypotenuse. If I know this 9, if it's across from 9, I'm going to take that 9 and divide it by square root of 2. Because again, this is the hypotenuse. If they give you the hypotenuse, you divide by 2 to find these two sides. Because again, these two are the same. Okay? So you have 9 over square root of 2. Remember, I can't have a square root of 2 on the bottom of my fraction. So I'm going to multiply on top and bottom by square root of 2. 9 square root of 2, well, that just becomes 9. Write it like that. And square root of 2 times square root of 2 just becomes 2. Alright? I'll just write it like that. Alright? Problem number 2, it's the same idea. We have 5 square root of 2 right here. They give us that's our hypotenuse. It's across from the 90 degree angle. So, remember, if I give them the hypotenuse, divide. So you're going to do from 5 square root of 2 divided by 2. Again, you can also write that as 5. Oops, excuse me, square root of 2, my bad. You can take that, 5 square root of 2, divided by the square root of 2. These are going to cancel out. So both y is going to equal to 5. That's what you're left with. And x is going to be equal to 5. Okay? Alright. And I'm going to work this number 2 one out. And actually work both these out. So this one here, a and b. 4 square root of 2 is our hypotenuse. If we're given the hypotenuse, we do 4 square root of 2 divided by 2. Which again is the same as 4 square root of 2 over square root of 2. Cancel both these out, and then both 4 and b are going to be equal to 4. So a is equal to 4, b is equal to 4. Number 2 right here. This is 5. This is attached to this 90 degree angle right here. So 5 is one of my legs. So I need to solve for my hypotenuse. So I need to solve and my other leg. But again, my other leg, these two are the same. So y is going to be equal to 5 as well because these two are the same. And again, yet again, if I'm solving for the hypotenuse, I'm going to do 5 times the square root of 2. And again, the way you would just leave that is just 5 square root of 2. Okay? Okay, so that is that. When it comes to the 9.1 notes, there will be a 9.1 practice set A that I will have already assigned by the time you guys get to class, so you guys can just go ahead and work on that. And remember, there is going to be, I'm going to say probably a 5 question learning check on Wednesday, because I'll be gone tomorrow as well, and I'll be back on Wednesday. So there'll be a learning check over this stuff on Wednesday. It'll kind of give us a chance to kind of review some of this stuff. So thank you guys for watching, and have yourselves a great rest of your day.